So welcome, Makhosi Ntaba. So glad that you can have this conversation with us today. So looking forward to all the insights that you're going to share with us, and tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do and your journey.
Thank you so much for having me, Makhabu. My name is Phumelele Khumalo, and my Dlozi name is Makhosi Ntaba. So most people will refer to me as Makhosi Ntaba. I'm an initiated healer. Ngithwasile, ngisangoma, inyanga. I work with traditional healing, traditional medicine, and also another part of my gift is holistic healing. Holistic healing deals with body, mind, and soul kind of healing. And yeah, so that's who I am. I also have a day job. I'm also a mother. I also have a few businesses there and there. They're not very big, but you know, we are getting there. But the most exciting thing that I am, or who I am, is a healer. I am Mama Ntaba.
So to get into it, one of the questions that I have to start off with is, how do we define mental health in the African context? Because I think the conversations that I've had with people a lot of the time when we talk about mental health, especially within the African context, is the perception that it does not exist. You know, it's as if like, because we are African beings, mental health is something that's a Western concept. It's not something that belongs to us. So it's something that we don't have. So I was very curious about that question from somebody who does the work that you do. How do you see mental health in the African context?
I think with what you've just explained now, the biggest problem is the name and the shame behind mental health. That's what makes it a bit different or hard to swallow or hard to accept, because it's now been grouped as mental health uhlanya. You know, with the African language, it's worse. Mental health, it sounds very, you know, but when you start speaking in vernac and uhlanya, you know, it doesn't sound right. It sounds judgmental. It sounds very bad in a way. I think that's what people don't want to accept, and then they want to fight it, and they want to go against it. But I personally believe there is mental health, and there is a thin line between mental health and a person who is gifted. I think that's where we start to confuse things. Because if you go back to even our African history, uhlanya was never into embi. It was never something bad. If kuthiwa uhlanya, it would be, then see, we know that is a gifted someone, that is isangoma, that is someone who is a seer, whether initiated or not. They would see things that other people don't see. And at that particular time, I'm not sure which ages are those, it was not regarded as anything bad. But there came a time when it was shameful, where they would kill people who are different, where they would, you know, there would be a whole lot of problems, whether it's a disability or mental health, where they are talking to things they can't see. It would be regarded as witchcraft. It would be regarded as into embi, where else it's not. It's just a matter of that particular person understanding whether they have a gift or they indeed need help, and how far has this mental health which level are they on. So I think I would say I'm on a 50-50, because I know deep down that there are people out there that need help, that let me count myself as well, because it can be anyone. It depends what has triggered that possibility of you having issues. Depression, anyone can have depression, and that's regarded as mental health. It just depends what trauma you've been in. And then also in Dlozi as well, also a gifted person, you encounter almost similar, if not the same symptoms. So if I go to a psychologist and I explain to you what I go through when I need to channel spirit, you will tell me a whole long and unexplained English names that I can't even pronounce that I have. And I will tell, and that person will come to me and I will tell you, oh no, that person, when that happens, is too. When that happens, it wants ABC. So that's why it's because of the same symptoms, there is a very thin line. So it comes back to us as healers, because most traditional people, and which are, I'm so sorry to say that, but most Black people, they don't want to say they have mental health issues. And they are the ones that mostly come to us as traditional healers every time when their child or their husband or their wife or somebody that is they love, their loved ones, is acting different. They come to a traditional healer, they say, no, this one was bewitched, so let me help you. And I have to be the one who identifies how far, how can I help this person? Can I do both the Western way, where this person is going to a psychiatrist and they need medication to stabilize whatever is going on in their life, and also help them in the Dlozi way? Or is it just only about Idlozi? So it takes, do we call it a diagnosis? It takes a true, I have to diagnose that person and explain to them. That is why it's so important for us as healers to also learn how to counsel people, how to do proper counseling, so that we balance the gifts.
Yeah.
This is what I do in also my practice. I make sure, because other people, they come, they want me to throw bones. And I see that, no, there's no bones needed here. This person just needs to talk. I will talk to them. I will try to ask a few questions that I would know that will not be harmful to them. And then I can refer them to a psychologist. I do energy healing because I do believe that energy is everything. When a person starts acting strange, it means there's no balance. It means there's no grounding. So if we fail at that, then we take it to another level.
I love what you were talking about with the duality of, using both Western and African sort of interventions to try and help somebody, and to look at somebody from a holistic perspective rather than just one-sided. And to just take you back to the beginning a little bit, when you were talking about almost the history of where we come from as African people, let me say South Africans specifically, I think that a lot of our history was lost. And I think, what you were saying, that at some point, I also believe that what you were saying, that at some point, African spirituality and the way in which people approached that was something that was accepted, something that was a lot more sort of common, and somewhere along the line that was lost, and I don't know, throughout history, a lot of things could attribute to why that is, but I believe somewhere along the line that was lost. And then so now that when you get into a space, when you start to talk about things like that, it's because of not knowing that there's so much stigma and so much negativity attached to all of this, because people don't know and they don't understand, and it seems like it's something that is so foreign, but in actual fact it's not really. It's something that's ingrained in us. It's part of our history. So that's something that resonates with me when you were talking about that, because that's something I do genuinely believe that is. And a part that I found interesting when you were talking about, Ihlanya, that is something that was not perceived in a negative way at some point in time, because it would be something that would be looked at in a different perspective. And when when we look at psychology and when we talk about mental health, there's something that speaks to the idea of when somebody behaves in a way that is outside of their cultural norms, then we can then say that that person is unwell and they're exhibiting maybe mental illness or something along those lines. So it's a very interesting conversation to have, because it's like when your cultural norms are lost, and you don't know what exists, like what those norms were before. When you look at certain types of behavior and you say they exist outside of our norms, but at some point that was quite normal. It was something that was not seen outside of the norm, but now we see it as something that is outside of the norm. For me, that blew my mind. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. But also considering that back then we were not living like how we living now. The food we ate was not processed; it was natural foods and all of that. So also that also it what can I say? It also amplifies that stigma now, because other people, the older people, maybe would say, yes, we did have abantu sibabiza ngehlanya, kodwa they didn't behave like this. And you'll get a mother who is pregnant and is drinking, and the child comes out with certain mental disabilities. So those things now were not there back then. No one would drink. They would respect their pregnancies, things like that. So we can't, as much as I say, and I also refer back to history, it's not all about that, because there's other issues that is man-made. Take someone who is abusing alcohol, abusing drugs, so that one it's something. I don't want to also say they did it ngamabomu, because it's also some sort of disorder to be so addicted to something.
Yeah.
And as a traditional healer's perspective, for me, it goes back to grounding. A person who is self-destruct, a person who is acting different, and not because they're crazy, but it's because of something they're taking, or it's an outcome of something that happened when they were younger, or even when they were older. There's car accidents, there's this, there's that is now affecting the human mind, the way of thinking, their perspective, the traumas, there's rape cases, there's this, and there's so much more. It's it's
broad.
There's so big.
There's a lot.
It's quite broad. And that's why, Ngiti, if we could work together, then you would let me know. This is not only Josie, this person, this is a medical report. This person was involved in a car accident, and now there's a problem there. That's why they are behaving this way. This person was born with a what syndrome. So that affects the brain like this, like that. So you can't always just blindly say idlozi. That's where we have to really, really start working together in order to help people heal. And I think the first and most important thing is understanding what is wrong with you. Or what you think is wrong with you, because that's when you start accepting and going forward to finding the healing for that. And with us traditional healers, as I said before, the symptoms are very similar. If right now, because we have amadlozi, these ancestors are also quite broad. There's different ones. I myself, I twisted 5 different types of amadlozi. Within the types of amadlozi, that's a whole lot. It's a whole army of those dlozis alapo. So when I say Makhosi, I know what happens when Makhosi comes through. I know my knees. I know there's sensations they come with. There's certain things, there's certain movements and even senses, smell and whatnot that come through when they come to talk to me. They come to talk to me while I'm sleeping, which is much better because no one will call me different and then or I will just have visions of certain things. And I know, okay, kufika Makhosi. When Amanda comes, which are the water spirits, they also have their own sensations and they also have their own demands in my body, in my mind, in the space I'm at. Because sometimes I'll have to move. Let's say I'm in an office and I can feel that they're coming. I have to move and be somewhere else. And there's Amandau, there's Amagedla, there's so different. My point is that it's just different amadlos. But when I come to you, you will tell me that I have multiple personalities.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you know,
Or
and
you're experiencing psychosis or something like that.
yes.
And it brings me to the question of, but how do we know, especially if somebody like me who isn't as well versed in the kind of knowledge that you have and the things that you know, how do I know that you know, and like what is going on and the kind of help that somebody needs? How do I know, you know, is this a psychological intervention that needs to happen, or is this somebody that I need to take to a traditional healer? Because I think that is something that is very it's not always evident for people to sort of see, and it's not always that we know what to do in those situations.
Yeah. Well, what happens with the patient itself? I'm the patient because these things happen to me. When it's Josie or when it's spirit coming to talk to you, there's always a validation for you. So if I'm seeing this, I'm talking to someone and I'm seeing this, I can actually ask you that, oh, who is a Mukwena? Because there is a man here who's calling himself a Mukwena from Kai Kai. And then you'll be the one who tells me, oh my gosh, that is my grandfather. So now that's the validation. Or you will have the dreams for your own home or your own health or the happenings, whatever that's still going to happen or that happened in the past. Because for instance, when I started taking notice of my gift, I was quite young. I would dream of a lot of things that people that I don't know who passed on before I was even born. So the validation for me was when I was asking the family, they would tell me, how did I know that? How did you know that? Because so for me, it became validation of some sort that, okay, I am seeing things that are true. It's either they've happened before or they are still to come. At school, as early as primary, you would know that there's a child that's going to fall we assembly. And then, yes, the next day, the child falls. And you'll be like, oh, maybe I'm the one that called it into existence, maybe my thoughts made it happen, you would be so scared. But as you grow older, and if a person is able to talk about what they see, what they feel, what they dream about, there's always a validation. Something will always happen, or someone will always validate that that thing is indeed true. Where else, when it's a medical kind of issue, I want to be very careful with my
terminology.
With my terminology. If it's a medical one, there's no validation, and it's going all over. You can tell there's no story in here, and it goes back to grounding. That's why if someone comes and tells me their dreams, I will start by treating them. Let's treat them as either with my holistic methods, which is meditation, yoga, all of those things that I know, sound therapy, all of these methods for grounding. I want to see if they are grounded enough, because after being grounded, your dreams are clearer. They tell a proper story instead of you came and then there was an elephant. After the elephant, there's then an aeroplane passed and this and that happened. Then it's confused. It's really confusion. There's no story. There's nothing I can work with as a healer to understand what's really going on, who is trying to communicate what with you. So it goes back to grounding. And some people, you find that where it's utokoloshe, where it is really witchcraft. But utokoloshe, it's not a literal person, short person with a big beard, like everyone. It's bad energy. It's dark energy that overpowers you. Remember, there is God. And if we are here on earth and we're human and there's all these planets and there's the sun and there's the moon, someone created it. So there's a higher power. There's the owner of our souls. So if there's an absence in that owner of our souls, then we are confused. Then we don't know who we are. Then that dark energy is ruling in us and making us do things or preventing us from going further than we are supposed to be. So that is dogoloshi. And it suppresses us. We get depressed. We are not creative as much as we are. We get lazy. We don't want to bath. We don't want to. And now the psychologist in you is already saying, Gogo, that is
no, Gogo, that's a classic signs of depression. So what are you talking about?
You see?
Yeah.
And then for me, when I give you a spiritual bath and I ngiyakshaya ngama-herbs ami, and we do these spiritual retreats. I teach you medication and I make you understand. Teaching knowledge is everything. So that's why I come back to all the healers. I always emphasize, please, let's teach. Let's be teachers more than anything, so that people are able to heal themselves, even in their own spaces. They remember that if my mind is racing, let me keep quiet and let me breathe and let me be one with God or my ancestor, whoever that you choose, that you see is coming with the light, because darkness is yeah, and I don't want to feel like this. It's negative, it's uncomfortable. Let's breathe, let's meditate. Let's think of nothing. Let's think of nothingness, so that I'm not called bipolar, I'm not called psychotic, I'm not called all of these words. And it's this darkness, ingenile, the absence of God. There's hell. They are thinking of this big hole of fire. And hell is the absence of God. And the absence of God is the absence of balance. And if there's no balance, there's a lot of destruction. There's no order. There's no uzobuya kunjani.
That's so true. So powerful. Makhosi, there's a lot that you're saying and a lot that is resonating with me, and I'm sure it'll resonate with a lot of people. And I love like how you keep going back to the duality, that exists within the Western and the African, and how we need to see people holistically and sort of like approach them in that way, and explaining things in a way that I haven't heard before. And I'm sure quite a few people would also sort of pick up from the conversation things that they haven't heard before that would resonate with them. And but as you were talking at some point, I remember something like a conversation that I once had on my mental health platform. And I wrote a blog and I was talking about mental health, and I was trying to be a little bit controversial, and I called it, "Is it witchcraft?" And then we had this conversation and people were chipping in and kind of giving their viewpoints. And somebody then said, yes, it is witchcraft. Nah, I know, I've seen it. I'm from like a rural part in South Africa. I've seen witchcraft. This is what happens. You can't tell me otherwise. And I just thought to myself, how do we get into spaces where we are able to educate, like you said, to people and help them enhance their knowledge, so that they know things in a way that empowers them, rather than living in a space of every time seeing something that is unusual, somebody behaving in a way that doesn't make sense, that is different, that they just automatically just go towards the witchcraft, rather than sort of taking on different perspectives. So how do we empower people?
So it goes to education, Because, oh, sorry, now I call you Coco. It's education. Because I won't say there is no witchcraft, because I know there is. As the traditional healer, I know there's witchcraft. People are scientists out there. There's different, everything here on earth we have been given by God, and even our intellect. And some people do use dark voodoo or dark magic to just try and see how far their powers can go. There is literally, it is true that people can send umbani, lightning to you. It is true that people can mix whatever they mix and call whatever spirits that they call to send for your marriage to die, or for you to not have kids, or for you to die, or for you to have a stroke. It's so different, even for car accidents, losing a job. There is a whole lot of witchcraft. That is very true. Because before anything, it goes back to how the earth was formed. There was darkness before anything. Even if you are a reader of a Bible, even if you believe in science, it says the same thing. Before anything, there was darkness. The Bible version is that God came and brought light. And then there was day, and then there was night. The scientist will tell you that there was just force, and then the sun, and it burst, and there was planets, and there was everything. But when you merge these things together, they are saying one and the same thing. Kahle, kahle. So darkness will always be there because it's part of the creation. Uyangithola? Ubumnyama will always be there. It's a matter of a person, as grounded, as cleanse, as sees, as heal, as seal yourself and your mind and everything else. Because what happens when they mix this science thing, this scientist, African scientist, I call them African scientists, sometimes bayakuphosela vele. Bakuphosele ukuthi uhlange utogoloshe lo tengimusho. It's now called togoloshe, or it's not a literal togoloshe vele, kodwa it's in the African into eseyidumile ukuthi utogoloshe uyafika vele akuhlangise. So that's when now anyone will come with their own experience. Because I know a person personally, even maybe in my family, that has had utokoloshe. And we went to a traditional healer, Wapumu Togoloshe. She's alive and kicking now. She's a professional. It's as if it was ancient history. It's as if you can see them now, you'll say I'm lying. That never happened, And I know of a person who did suffer from mental health, who did, like, it was a chemical imbalance that would not have been cured by traditional healing. Another thing that we need to educate ourselves in: what is your purpose here? What did you come here to do? Because even Nabolaba, I'm an African scientist, when they work with their dark magic, we don't know, only God knows. Maybe that's their purpose, so that they help us to reach out to our gods, to reach out to our ancestors, that we know that they exist and they heal, and they create balance, they create order within us, and they help us to understand things better. And I think I'm now going away from even the question, but it goes back to that we need to educate ourselves and see each and every case as is, and not generalize everyone. Each one is unique, each one is unique. We have I have had friends, perfect, a doctor or a student, A grade student, perfect everything, but they like lying. They are liars. They are pathological liars. They just lie for no reason whatsoever, So I can't say that one is witchcraft, Do you understand?
Yeah.
there is an imbalance somewhere, but it is not witchcraft because this person is well established. They have a whole lot of things. They are good people, they are kind people, but there's this thing that causes them to lie. So that's where I go to also the Western kind of way to understand why would someone want to just lie out of nowhere? Why? What is a pathological liar? What is this disorder? Because this person is perfect everywhere. A good mom, a good father, a good cook, a good businessman, a good businesswoman. Everything that is on earth is fine except for lying. So people, if you're just going to generalize only and say mental health is witchcraft, then I don't understand that. I'll agree with that. We should take each and every case uniquely as it is and analyze it uniquely as it is and heal those parts, whether Western way or traditional way.
What you're saying is so important because sometimes not understanding sort of leads us down in those paths, right? Where we sort of take perspectives that sort of make sense to us and they might not necessarily be true. And so when we talk about spirituality, you know, there's a lot that lives in the space where people sort of understand as something that they can enhance in their lives. And I think when people sometimes talk about spirituality, we tend to lean on religion, you know, because it's something that is familiar, it's something that we're taught maybe from a young age, a conditioning that we have to sort of believe in this thing. And sometimes it can be such a hindrance for people when it comes to their mental health because of the belief systems that they then take on from these places in their lives, you know, as something that they use to find sort of strength in and to lean on. And then they take on these belief systems and then that say a particular thing about mental health, and then they can't find a way forward when they experience difficulty because of these belief systems that they've taken on. So I just wanted to sort of have a conversation about how religion and spirituality can enhance mental health, you know, rather than it being something that sort of like, you know, dampens it.
Yes, that is very powerful because most of the distraction is, I believe, from the lack of belief. You know, when you don't believe in anything, because like I said before, as we are living, it means someone created us. You know, if there's this stone, then someone created this stone. Someone must have the color, the shape, the corners, everything. There's human, there's fish, there's water, there's the sky, there's trees, there's animal, wild animals, flying animals. There's all of these. That means someone created it, and each and everything on Earth and other planets is there for a purpose. So what do you believe in? Because if you feel distraction, if you feel confusion, who do you go back to? Who is your manufacturer in a way? You know, if now I have an iPhone and it has a problem, I go straight to the iStore, you know, to find fixing. So that's how I believe, even in the belief system, it can help us. If I feel, there's so much confusion, who do I believe in that can help me to mollify the noises in my head, mollify the confusion and the distraction that is happening, you know? So I go back to the one who created me, my creator, because now kune glitch. It's something is wrong or something seems wrong, because there's another problem where people think there's something wrong with them, but it's an illusion. You know, when you believe in spirituality, then you will believe in astrology and you will understand how the moon works, how the retrograde works, how if there's a full moon, if the sun is up at its fullest, the dates, the campus is north, southwest, you will understand things in that way. If I have this kind of feeling, if I'm feeling this kind of pressure or discomfort, who do I go to for balance and grounding? I keep going there.
Yeah.
If you're a believer of Christ, then you know what I mean. I find my balance, I find my order in my God who is Christ Jesus. If it's Buddha, I find my order with Buddha. I find my order with Allah. I find my order with Ushembe. I find my order because we are Zizwa now. You know, Puma, where you believe it's your charging, because it's all about perspective. And mind is a very powerful.
I always call it a powerhouse.
Yes, it's a powerhouse. What you put in, what you sit on for a long time, your thoughts, your perception, what you see, it goes to your mind, and then it creates either children there, and then it goes to your heart. You start feeling it, you start seeing it all over, and so where do you balance yourself when that confusion starts happening? So a belief system for a human mind to find order and balance is much important. And I believe that's why God and the universe made sure ukuthi maningi ama-belief system, maningi kakhulu. Amanye aswazi, I'm only saying these few ones that I know of and I've seen around, but that's why kuthiwa akumele sinyatsane, because you don't know what this person finds when they go to that chapel. What kind of peace and healing and understanding of life do they find when they go there? Because because it's all ingqondo. Ekumele njalo ihlezi ibuya iba balance uba at your equilibrium, because I as a spiritualist, I believe which we've tested a lot of times, too much of anything is wrong. So if you're overthinking, go wrong. If you're over happy, go wrong. Because too much of anything. So that's why we are always coming back. Come back to your equilibrium. So for me to come back to my equilibrium, I need to always remember who I am and what I believe in. Young tall. So if it's prayer that I believe in, then I will come back to prayer because I'm too excited. Like I'm even saying the wrong things, or I'm too angry. I'm saying it distractful manje ngoba ngi-angry. Saying tata ispamu maybe, or I'm hitting on things, like I'm being distractful because I'm angry. I'm taking a car now, I'm driving recklessly because I'm too angry. There's no balance. Or I'm too hurt. Like I'm so hurt, I can't stop. For a whole week I'm crying because maybe of a loss or whatever trauma that I went through. Now I'm thinking, you know what, let me end my life because I equal it. So too much of into is wrong, because even too much happiness, you know, you are reminding them of their own traumas too. So you become a trigger on your happiness. So it's too much of anything. So it goes back. What do you believe in? Who is the one that balances you? Who is the one that calms you down and brings you back to reality and brings you back to where you are supposed to be whenever you're too down or you're too up? Because I finally in a balance.
Oh, I love that. No, I think that's amazing. I think that is so powerful. I think that is really amazing, you know, to think about the balance, to think about what anchors you, to think about what you find your roots in, almost, you know, so that we are able to live in a place of balance. Because I think and using sort of like our religion or spirituality or whatever it is that we turn to find balance as something that enhances our mental health. Because I think sometimes when it comes to mental health, it's very tricky to be like, okay, so when we do get into spaces of mental health difficulty, where does the difficulty originate from? Is it something that is genetically there and then it was triggered by something? Is it something that,
Mhm.
you know, is within our environment? Maybe like you were exposed to sort of like traumas and things like that, and that creates sort of like that mental health difficulty that you experience in your life. So I think
Mm,
as a place where we can find balance and sort of
mm,
grounding, I think that is
mm.
important, so that we are able to use sort of spirituality and religion as something that enhances our well-being, rather than a tool that we use to crucify other people, you know, to sort of say,
Exactly.
but you can't, if you believe in this thing, you can't then be somebody who has mental health difficulty. So I think if we were to take that on ourselves and sort of
Mm,
understand it, then we're able to support other people in those spaces when they experience difficulty. So I love what you're
yeah.
saying. I think it's so powerful and so important.
Thank you.
And another thing I wanted
Mm,
to touch on is the different modalities of healing, if I can call them that, you know, because a lot of the
mm,
time, when we get into spaces of finding healers, be it doctors
mm.
or even traditional healers, we tend to expect that whatever they will prescribe or give to us is something
We
that
just.
is given. We just have to receive.
Mm,
You go to a doctor, they give you a pill, it's like great. You go to
mhm,
the traditional healer, they throw the bones or do whatever it is that they do, tell you what the problem is, and then
mhm,
do whatever it is, and then that's great. But I love how you say in your practice you incorporate different modalities of healing,
mm,
like, you know, the with yoga and the mind-body connection that we have,
mm,
and, you know, different like
mm,
meditation and sort of how you find grounding and all those things,
mm,
and looking at the person and sort of educating them to say, but this is something that you can take on with you as you
mm,
go along your journey of life, and you can always bring back into your life as a skill set that you use, because I believe in
mm,
that so much. I am somebody who
mm,
always talks about resources that people can then take like and use for themselves, rather than having to
yeah.
rely on somebody else all the time. So I think that is really
Mm.
important in the work that you do, and I think that is really amazing.
I want to thank you. And also with you touched on how it can also be genetic. I remember when we also had that talk,
Mm,
there are traumas within idlozi and then they come through us. But I think I also covered that by saying you have to look at in an individual and we must stop generalizing. And I think that's where we are at fault as
mhm,
healers sometimes, that we don't look at things or at a person or a case as an individual to see what is exactly happening here and
yeah,
also educate, like you say.
yeah,
Yes, I do use a lot of methods of healing, that including classes, you know, where we are just talking and I'm teaching about the word, I'm teaching about life. Like I said, I'm a life coach, so I would literally see that this person's problem by engaging with them. I would see with le because we
mm,
have to know who we are as healers too. We can't do everything. No one
yeah,
has that much power. I
mm,
know we love power claiming, but no one has that much power to do everything. That's why we need to also help each other, because there's also kids involved. You know, there's kids that are doing, there's autism, there's a whole lot of other disorders that are out there that are bigger than okwedlozi kuphela. You
yeah,
know, there's chronic, where we just need to learn how to uh, and even teach within the families living with that person.
mm,
Because I've had someone that was helping, and I told even the parents, would say, lo muntu kumele nimsize kanje.
mm,
You can still continue to come here, and I can still continue to talk to you as parents. Would say, how do you help them? But then I had my own Makhabu's side to ask certain questions, because I am not a qualified psychologist. So
mm,
I am very careful into tapping into that kind of environment where I can harm.
mm,
So it's all about educating ourselves, making sure you know how far you can go, where are your powers, and seeking for help for everyone. Because the most important thing, or the most important person, is the one that is seeking or trusting you for help, because people come to us. So when you come to us, I already know that you are seeking help. We are not judging everyone. It's only a willing participant that comes and says, I need help. So yeah.
And that is the same as therapy as well, because I always say to people that you can have, you know, access to all the resources in the world, but if somebody is not yet ready
Not
and
willing.
at that point where they're willing to receive and ready to receive help in any way, then it's not something that's going to happen. To wrap everything up, I think everything that you sort of said and touched on has been really amazing. And, you know, we need to get into spaces where we have more of these conversations so that we can understand better. And when we understand better, that's how we are able to incorporate, and how we're able to incorporate different you know, educational systems and different sort of viewpoints and perspectives and bring them together so that we're able to help a lot more people who are in distress from, you know, different perspectives. So thank you so much for coming through and sort of giving us all this knowledge and, you know, enlightening us, and sort of, you know, we are now better for it as we come out of this, because we now know better.
And thank you so much for this talk. I am so excited, and I am so glad that you were able to receive my 2% or my 2 cents knowledge. And yeah, it's an honor. Honestly, I am really honored.